welcome. My name is Peace Mitchell, and I'm co-founder of the Women's Business School, Osmompreneur, and Women Changing the World Press. I'm also chairwoman of Tererai Trent International Foundation, an incredible international organisation providing education for children in rural Zimbabwe. It's my great pleasure today to be launching Sacred Promise, a beautiful collection of stories from women all over the world, led by Dr. Tererai Trent. Tererai Trent is a humanitarian, award-winning author, and also known as Oprah Winfrey's all-time favourite guest. She's been responsible for educating over 38,000 children and building 11 schools for children in rural Zimbabwe. It's my great pleasure to now introduce you to Dr. Tererai Trent.
Oh, thank you for that introduction. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you, Peace, for creating this platform for us to be able to discuss this amazing book written by 36 women from all over the world.
It's such a special book, Tererai, isn't it? The Sacred Promise. Can you tell us about your inspiration for bringing this book to life?
This takes me back to my own childhood growing up. I realized early on that my great-grandmother was running with this baton of poverty, illiteracy, early marriage, and she was passing it on to my grandmother, my grandmother to my mother, and then to me. And I had a profound discussion with my mother. And she said, Tererai, now the country has become independent. Do you really want to pass on this baton to your children and your grandchildren? It was the most difficult time of my life. And I sat down and said to myself, no. So I had to make that promise that I was not going to pass it on. It became the unbroken promise, non-negotiable promise for me. Then years later, after I achieved my own dreams, I began to think there must be millions of women who are being grounded by a promise, a sacred promise, no matter what difficulties or challenges that they are going through. This unbreakable promise is grounding them towards their vision and their mission. So I said, I need to call global women, my sisters, to share these sacred promises that are grounding us. And in many ways, it's a promise that heals us, but it is also a promise that heals the next generation. And oh, girl, the promises came. 36 women gathered, and each one writing her own chapter. So today we have 5 authors that are going to share their sacred promise.
Oh, it's so incredible. And the power that setting the intention and committing to a sacred promise to yourself, it's so incredible, the impact that can have on your own life, but also on the lives of others. When I hear about your story and your sacred promise, and I know that it's changed the trajectory of your life, but also of your children's lives, and also of the lives of all of the children who you've been a part of helping them to achieve their education. And so a sacred promise can be something that's so simple as, you were committed to making change, but so powerful, the ripple effect of that can go on far beyond what we first imagined when we first made that promise to ourselves.
Yes.
And so these authors each have a story of their own sacred promise and, going through very dark times and finding their way into the light through staying strong and staying committed to the non-negotiable promise that they've made to themselves.
Yeah.
So it's just incredible and such an inspiring book. And I think we should get straight into welcoming our authors now and letting them share with us why they wanted to write this book.
Yeah, yeah. So our first author is Judy. Judy's writing is grounding and it is healing. Her story is a story that every woman out there should read because she brings a lot of wisdom in her writing. Judy, would you mind if I welcome you to the to the panel?
Hello, Tererai. How are you?
I'm
Thanks
doing
for having
well.
me.
And yourself? I'm doing well. And Judy, before we delve into your chapter, would you mind to introduce yourself to the sisters that are out there in the world and to our listeners?
My name is Judy Chongwood. I've lived all around the world as a child. I currently reside in Australia,
Mhm.
and I founded. I went to university in New Zealand, and I actually become a. I always wanted to do something professional because that's what my family expected of me. You know, have a decent job, decent education, get a highly paid job, and that's actually exactly what I did. But then I realized that that is not something I'm passionate about. So I became a town planner. I was really good at my job,
Oh,
but I just realized it's not my passion. I
mm,
have this um, um, rage with inside me that I'm meant to be doing something else much more meaningful than just having a desk job doing what I'm good at, and obviously helping developers get their permits is important, but
mm,
it's just not fulfilling. So basically, about 12, 13 years ago, I founded my company called Skin B5 um, because I suffer from acne. So I founded my company because I discovered a way to heal my own skin problems, and that becomes overwhelmingly obsessive. I'll call it maybe epiphany. Something just came over me. I call it like an atomic bomb. Went off in my head. I was completely obsessed. This is my mission, to
mm,
bring a solution to people out there who are struggling skin problem, because skin problems is distressing.
mm.
It's not something that you can hide from people through makeup. So yeah, so that's basically what I've
Yeah.
currently still doing and very passionate about and on a mission about it.
Oh, I love how you are able to recreate yourself. I mean, we always talk about we can reimagine who we want to be and create that because we are the masters and mistresses of our own destiny. But tell me, what is your sacred promise and why that promise? And in what way has that promise been grounding you?
When I first submitted my to share my story in your anthology, Tererai, I said that my sacred promise was to become financially successful so that I had the means to help other people, and
Mm,
using my entrepreneurial, inventive, and determined and persistent nature to help other people. And that's been always been, and I thought, anyways, that's defined my business journey, the why behind my business. But when I actually started digging deeper into myself, I realized that my sacred promise is actually about rediscovering your inner power, as I have discovered for myself. And that's when you can actually express your power to help other people.
mm,
So, that's actually my sacred promise is actually to help other people to reclaim their personal power, as I have managed to do so, because we actually all have it within us. We just have to find it,
mm,
express it, and in order to live our full potential.
mm. And you express it so well in your chapter. I think many women are going to resonate with it. Um, so, why was it important for you to be part of this anthology?
Um, this is a deeply personal story that I'm sharing in this anthology that I've never shared with anyone else other than my own sister, who's shared the journey with me. And obviously, there are parts that I went through it myself, but we share the common story because we talk very, very close. So I am actually extremely nervous about opening up and share. Open in my mind is opening up in Pandora's box,
Mm,
because I have actually moved myself so far beyond my story that it feels like a past life. So, but when the opportunity came to um, to share my story and being part of your anthology, I just thought, I just felt that if I was ever going to open up and share this story with the world, this is it.
mm,
This is it, to have this opportunity to share, to join forces with so many inspirational women around the world is truly special.
mm.
And my hope is that through sharing our stories, we can really amplify the message of hope and resilience to anyone who's struggling out there.
Yeah. And in your chapter, you really crystallizes what you are talking about, because you go deep in your pain and you rise with that pain and you give us inspiration and hope. And I think every woman who has a similar story, because we all do, but you are right to say we are not shaped by one single story. It's not going to define who we are. We are many stories, but I love the way you provide the lessons that we can take from your chapter. And if you think of all the lessons, the nuggets of wisdom that you have provided, is there any one key lesson that you would want to share with your audience?
I really hope that I am able to show my readers that every single one of us have it within ourselves the power to change our lives. We just have to believe in ourselves. We have to back ourselves, even that no one else will, and summon the courage to make difficult decisions, as I have done so many times in my life. Because you slowly discovered the every time you make that difficult decisions and rise above it, you realize that you really can change your life, you really can turn things around, and you're truly the master of your own destiny, because it's just not some beautiful words. Because if you actually do it, you can be the master of your own destiny. And my number one lesson is be the master of your own destiny.
And you have showed us in your writing. It's beautiful. Now, I want to introduce you to one of our authors, the next author. Her name is Laura. Laura's writing is also grounding. She's a storyteller. And welcome, Laura.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much, Dr. Tererai. This is such a gift, such a privilege to be here with you.
Oh,
So
thank
much.
you. Thank you. I enjoy your work. And so before we delve into your chapter, would you mind to introduce yourself, who you are and where you are coming from?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Laura Peña, and I am from the Dominican Republic, which is where I am right now. This is why it's nighttime. I'm a speaker, I'm a filmmaker, storyteller, a writer, entrepreneur, so many things, but most importantly, I'm an advocate for girls. And I am on this mission to support this next generation of leaders from around the world, teenage girls. And I'm going about this as if our future depends on this, because I really believe it does.
Mm,
And I funded She's the Universe, which is a global movement for girls' empowerment that looks to empower girls to follow their dreams and to inspire each other and to have this beautiful sisterhood with girls from all over the world. And right now we're serving about 50 girls from 50 countries that come together online and in person to connect and give each other that love that we so much need.
yeah. And even some of the girls as far away as Africa. You work
Yeah, we
with
have
them.
girls. We have girls. Some of our girls are in Zimbabwe,
That's
Africa, so many, Australia, Philippines, the Amazons, the US here.
yeah. So tell me, reading your chapter, it's moving, and you are a storyteller. And I'm just wondering, what is that sacred promise?
Yeah.
And why that?
Yeah. Oof.
In what ways is it grounding you?
Yeah. So when I was little, I as a girl growing up in a country like mine, the Dominican Republic, I believed that my dreams didn't matter and that my voice didn't matter. And my promise is to remind all of us, and especially girls, that our dreams do matter, that our voice matters, and that we are loved beyond belief, that we're not alone.
Oh my goodness, well said. And why was it important for you to be part of this anthology?
Well, the sisterhood is so beautiful. The women here are so inspiring, and they come from all over the world. But when I first heard about it, I have to tell you that when I read your book, it changed my life, because I remember the story that really stuck with me is when someone asks you about your dream, right? And how so many girls have never been asked this.
Yeah.
And so immediately I was like, wow, I want to be that woman. I want to be that woman that sits with little girls and asks them, what do you want? Tell me. So this is why being part of this has been so magical. Just being in your presence is really powerful.
And thank you for creating that fertile ground for young girls to thrive. We really appreciate that about you. And of all the nuggets of wisdom that you write in your chapter, is there one key message that you would love to share with us?
Absolutely. There is, for a lot of my life, I follow a path, a set path, that I felt always like I was in this train going nonstop, a million miles an hour. And then one day I realized that it was not my train, and that this dream that I was following was not my dream. And it's this train full of like society's expectations and the things that we think we need to do to be successful in the eyes of the world. And I think that what I want people to know is that there are other ways, and that it's scary. And because this path, the path that we're meant to follow, it's not built yet. We're building it. There's a lot of people that have follow their own path, and they're walking alongside with us, but we're the ones paving the way. And that can be really but it's so worth it. And I tell people, a lot of people say follow your heart, but how do you do that, right? And something I talk in the book is like how you can learn to listen, so you can actually follow that. And a simple way is getting quiet.
Yes.
And then quiet doesn't just mean silent. It just also means going to nature and touch a tree, listen to your favorite song, and move and disconnect from the world so you can reconnect with yourself.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love the part of reconnecting with yourself. I always talk about come home to yourself, because everything is within us. Thank you for your contribution.
Thank you.
Now, our next author is an amazing author. I love the way Kelly writes. Kelly, welcome.
Hello, Tererai.
Hi, Kelly. How are you?
I'm
How are
wonderful.
you?
How are you?
I really enjoyed reading your chapter, and I think it's going to open many eyes. I love the way you articulate who you are and how you articulate your sacred promise. But before we delve into your chapter, would you mind to introduce yourself, who you are, your location, where you are coming from?
Yes. So my name's Kelly Hackney. I live on the east coast of Australia in Port Stephens, on the beautiful Warramai country, and it's a beautiful place to come and see. We'd love to have you here.
Oh.
I my work currently, I'm a family services leader in a grassroots not-for-profit. And that's a world away from where I was when I first wrote my sacred promise. If I think about who I am and share a little of who I am, I come back to what my name is. And I didn't always like my name until I found out its meaning. And Kelly means warrior woman. And I think, yeah, I know. And it speaks of a fighter, a survivor, but also of a leader who will wage war against injustice and lead the way to hope. My middle name is Samantha, and Samantha means listener. And to me, whilst they're quite contrast, they really, I think, show who I am. And listening to me is so important. Listening to myself, listening to others, hearing them, seeing them, and listening to a God greater than ourselves. I learned this amazing. I'm a seeker of wisdom and understanding, and some of the most beautiful wisdom I've learned is around what's called Dadiri, and it's a sacred deep listening. And it's about way more than just hearing. It's about connecting and a belonging and a knowing. And I think that sums up, I feel like, what I bring to the world and what I want.
You're such a beautiful human being. Oh my goodness. So, because you bring so much wisdom, and I'm just wondering if you don't mind sharing with us your sacred promise and why that sacred promise.
Yeah, so my sacred promise is to look for the light as it shines away to hope and possibility. And, in life, we can learn lots of skills and strategies and ways to navigate the world, but sometimes they don't work for us, and especially when things happen that are outside of our control. And my promise was birthed in a really dark time where I felt hopelessness and despair. And nothing that I had been shown or told was helping. My own strategies were destroying my life as well. So they weren't working, but I knew there was something more. And, it was almost in that depth and darkness that I just had this promise that I birthed of look for the light because it shines away. And, when the night's dark and long, you've got the promise of the sun rising in the morning. It happens each day. When the sun's setting and fear's starting to set in, you can look up and see the sky and the stars just scattered across, sparkling little, thoughts of possibility. And I guess that's where my promise lies. And it has guided me through life. Life's not always smooth sailing or roses, but my life today is a gift. And I feel like I want to share as much as what I've learned with for others as well. Yeah.
Definitely, you are a wisdom whisperer. And I encourage women out there, our readers out there, to read this book and also to enjoy your chapter. Really, really. So why was it important for you to be part of this anthology?
Oh wow, what a gift as well. So for me, I thought I've always thought about writing, and I've always thought about sharing the parts of my journey that I think could help other people. And so when I don't think there's a coincidence. I think things have sometimes happened. There's a way bigger plan. And when I came across this opportunity, I thought, yes, yes. One, to share my story. Part of my chapter is things that I've never brought into the public arena before. And that takes a bit of courage and me getting on my brave.
Yes. And you being, you being brave, but as well as bringing healing, because you fueled your passion given the pain that you went through. And I just love the way you write about that. And since you provide so many nuggets of wisdom in your writing, seriously, as I was reading, I said to myself, this is wisdom. I could feel your voice. I could feel your writing. Is there any one nugget of wisdom, key lesson that you would love to share with the audience?
Oh, one is really a challenge, but I have thought hard, and I guess my key piece of wisdom is around treasures, and to look for them and we'll find them. And I guess that includes finding me, finding yourself, finding your why you're here, what your purpose is, finding what your gift is, what you're here to give away and to share with the world. Find your tribe, the people who support you and cheer for you.
Yeah.
And I guess if you look for those treasures, my experience has been that they come your way if you seek them.
Oh, thank you. Oh my goodness. You are so wise. Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate
Thank you, Tererai.
Thank you for collaborating with us on this book. I think this book is going to help many, many people around the world. Now, our next author, she's also grounding her story. She's a storyteller, and her work is beautiful. Gertrude, welcome to this panel.
Hello, Sissy Tererai. It's wonderful to be here with you today. Thank you so much for the honor of contributing towards this book.
Thank you. I love the way you write, and it's grounding. You explore into the issues of humanity, the essence of who we are as a people. But before we delve into your chapter, would you mind to introduce yourself to the world, who you are, your location?
Okay, so I am Gertrude Mache, mother of 3 beautiful children and 1 gorgeous grandson who's recently an addition to my family. I am normally based in Wellington, New Zealand, now currently in Melbourne, Australia, and originally from Zimbabwe. I am the founder and global curator for the Her Story Circle movement. And it is a social impact movement where we curate women's stories from all over the world and leave a social impact in every single location where we have a presence in uplifting primarily women and children. And now with COVID, we've added the elderly, the homeless, and the disabled as well.
Mm-hmm. And thank you for creating that platform. Thank you very much, Gertrude. So, what is your sacred promise and why that promise?
My sacred promise was to always go back home to Zimbabwe, to go back and give back. When I left 21 years ago, it was during the AIDS pandemic. I had lost a lot of family members. My grandmother had 11 children. She had 34 grandchildren. 19 of my first cousins died of AIDS, including my youngest brother. So we had 49 orphaned kids on my side of the family, another 40 on my ex-husband's side. So for the last 21 years, I have raised money. I've managed to put over 3,000 children through primary school in my village. And when I saw this opportunity, I got so excited because Dr. Trent, I've been following you for years. I have a passion for education. I know what education can do in the life of a young girl.
It is the key. It is the key. And why was it important for you to join this anthology, to be part of this group of women?
Whew, it felt like I had finally met my tribe. It felt like I was going to be part of an army of go-givers, women who have a passion to give back, a passion to change the world. And I felt like a fish in water for the first time in a very long time, because I've been working in isolation, and now I have a whole lot of sisters who are doing the work with me.
We love you. We love you. And we appreciate collaborating with you because you provide so many nuggets of wisdom in your book. Is there one that you would love to share with the world?
I would love to say that your story matters, no matter who you are. Your story can be the light at the end of the tunnel for someone else. Your story can be the inspiration that gets somebody to start a new business when they hear what you've done. Your story can bring joy and laughter to somebody who's having a bad day. So we have to honor our stories. You have to honor your story. And if you get an opportunity to share it, share it. Because stories are doors into other worlds. Stories take us to other countries. We get to know other cultures and other people.
Yeah.
So honor your story.
Yeah. And by sharing our stories and honoring our stories, we are also allowing others to unsilence that which silences them. So we can create that platform for others to express who they are and to share their stories. Oh, thank you, Gertrude. I could sit here and listen to you the whole day. Thank you. I love your contribution to this book, and your chapter, as I've said, it's grounding. You talk about the essence of who we are, and you have created platforms for others to thrive. And thank you for giving us your shoulder.
Thank you.
Well, now the last author on this panel, she also has a story that reads like a movie. I remember reading the first paragraph. I had to scratch my head and say, this is so good. Sarah, welcome. I love the way you write.
Oh, thank you so much, Tererai. I'm very honored to be here in this space and with you and with all of these women.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You are so poetic in the way you write. But before we delve into your chapter, would you mind to introduce yourself, your name, where you are coming from, where you are zooming from?
Of course. My name's Sarah Walco, and I am a visual artist, and I'm a writer, and I'm a director of arts organizations. I've been directing nonprofit arts organizations for over 16 years, and I'm an arts educator. And I'm coming from Summit, New Jersey in the United States, which is the ancestral homeland of the Lenape Native Americans. And so I honor the homeland that I live on.
So what's your sacred promise? Because the way you write, like I said, you are poetic, but you could see art in the way you write. You move from one paragraph to the next, and I'm like, oh, dear Lord, this is so beautiful, the way it's done. What's your sacred promise?
Thank you, Tara. I appreciate that. And I'm a visual thinker, so everything's visual for me. So as I write, it's all visual too. But my sacred promise is just a complete commitment to advancing the arts in the world. And I do that in many ways. In my own studio practice, I create sculptures and films and installations and drawings and paintings. But as a director of an arts organization, creating programs, I support a lot of arts organizations financially, and I'm serving on boards. And basically, my commitment is to advancing the arts in every possible, in any possible way into the world. And the reason that that's important to me, I always think about it in terms of one of my kind of phrases is not thinking about art as a thing, but as a way. It is a way. It's this really, really powerful way for us to connect to one another, for us to elevate each other to our shared humanity, for us to, as something, you know, that I heard sort of echoed in the earlier interviews, something that generates empathy, you know, because art is also just visual storytelling, right? Music, anything, everything's storytelling at the end of the day, right? All these different avenues of storytelling. So, you know, generating empathy and compassion. Art has tremendous healing powers to it. And so, you know, my commitment to the arts is because I think it's a very powerful way to just bring about change and bring about healing. And, you know, I had a very personal experience with that because going through my own life with all of its challenges, as we all have, and our painful experiences, art healed me. You know, there was definitely times when in my darkest days and in my darkest nights of the soul, it was the thing that got me through to the next day, just being able to sit down and create. So I had a very personal experience with it. But I also am fortunate enough as a director, I see it almost daily. I witness it almost daily. I see that healing transformation in communities. You know, when I'm working with an art therapist and we're developing content to work towards a community that's experiencing tremendous trauma. And then, or even just working as an art educator and just seeing the difference between, you know, how students enter a museum and then go through their own act of creating and then leave the museum. I see the transformation. I see the power of the transformation all the time. So I had a very personal experience with it, but I see it on a community level all the time, which just every day continues to sort of contribute to my belief in it. And I think also that it's not dissimilar to when we talk about this idea of like, what's your dream? You know, when you ask people, what is your dream? What is your dream? When you ask someone that question, what you're asking them to do is take this very courageous leap of imagination, right? And so imagine like a whole other, you know, imagine anything, sky's the limit. And that's such an important part of actually building that dream and then manifesting that dream. It has to start with the imagination. It has to start with that leap. And I think this, you know, that's, you know, it's the same conversation in that sense. Like if we want to build a better world, if we want to build new systems, we do have to start in the kind of juice of the creative imagination and the courageous imagination in that sense. So I think that it has legs is what I'm saying. Like, I don't think it's this like, you know, sort of floating around space. I think it's a strong sort of spirit power.
Yeah. It reminds me of the saying, you can't achieve that which you cannot create in your mind.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You have to create it in your mind for it to be real.
Absolutely. You have to see it. You have to first start by seeing it, and that takes imagination.
And feel it as if it exists. And when I was reading your chapter, I could feel it. I could sense it. It's powerful the way you write and the way you arrange yourself from one paragraph and transition from the next. Oh my goodness. I felt like I was in a movie, and thank you for that. And of all the wisdom that you bring to this world in your artistic manner, in your storytelling manner, is there one key lesson that you want to share with the world?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, and I've heard some echoes of this in a sense in what others were saying, but I feel like one of the most powerful and important things is to just embrace our whole story, right? So we all have these tremendous, shining, beautiful moments that we're proud of, and then we all have our pain that we have to walk through, our shame, all of these other things. But in the embracing of the full story, and then all the lessons, all the wisdom that come from all aspects of that sort of generates this, I kind of call it like your whole healing and healed self that creates this very fertile soil. And I think it's, you know, even when our hardest and darkest experiences are in that soil, that's what grows like the greatest, strongest oak tree to assist us in our service for the world. And so like, so the richness of your soil is your entire lived experience. There shouldn't be like oh, that was a really hard couple of years, you know, and I'm sort of like divorcing from that. I think it's like, if you can just totally till that into the soil, you know, it reminds me also of the story that Maya Angelou told of going through a really traumatic childhood experience when she was 7 years old. And so she stopped talking for 5 years.
Yeah.
In that 5 years, she went to the libraries and bookstores and she read and she read and she memorized and she read plays and poems and stories and basically a very difficult part of her life. Absolutely. She was silent. She wouldn't speak to anyone for 5 years because of her trauma.
Yeah.
But that period was this like incubation period that made her like a tour de force of words and just the incredible impact that she had on the world, because she just enveloped that whole, you know, experience of the difficulties into her whole self. So I always say that to my students, like, bring it all, like invite it all in for this giant hug and just like integrate it, because that's where you're going to find your most unique voice. And when you find your most unique voice, that's where you're going to find your most powerful voice.
In those 5 years of silencing, I guess it was 5 years of coming home to herself. And like you said, once she came out, once she defined who she was, who she wanted to be, she became such a global force. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for your contribution to this book. Your chapter, as I have said, it's healing and it's grounding. And I think it will resonate with many readers that are out there in the world. Thank you. And this brings us to the end of this panel discussion. What a beautiful, beautiful book we have. And the authors tonight, they were just brilliant and shining. And I love the way they are able to dig deep into their sacred promise, as well as to share those nuggets of wisdom.
Yeah, so much wisdom here, Tererai. These women sharing so generously and so honestly about their story and their experiences, but also sharing so generously in the lessons they've learned along the way and the advice that they have for other women. And I think that's where the real gold is here. It's just such a special and inspiring book. And I know that people all over the world are going to read this book and are going to be inspired to commit to their own sacred promises and to take action on their dreams. And, you know, I remember when I first read your book, Tererai, and reflecting and thinking, wow, if Tererai can overcome so many challenges and hold on to that dream of achieving her PhD, then surely I can get over the challenges I'm facing in my life and achieve the big dreams that I have for myself. And so I know that this book will be just like that, Tererai, that people will read these stories and they will be inspired by these incredible women and their courage and their tenacity and their ability to overcome challenges that face them and commit to their sacred promise and be triumphant. And so that's what I'm excited about.
And, you know, for me, I was able to fulfill my sacred promise and to live it fully because I had others who allowed me to stand on their shoulders. So I don't take credit for everything, for every achievement. But when other women, other individuals, men, boys or girls, when they look at you, and they see something in you that you are not seeing in yourself, they fuel that sacred promise. They fuel who you are. They give you energy. And that's the reason why, for me, to come up with this book and to say, women, let's discuss our sacred promise, it was a way of giving back, because I've received so much from women who have kept their sacred promise. So they could see mine, even though I didn't talk much about it, but they could feel it and say, we also need to help this young woman to fulfill, to live her promise.
Yes, it's so beautiful. And that collective sisterhood, the energy of that, and the energy that we've seen in this book in coming together as a collective of women who all have that shared vision of a sacred promise, even though we're all so different. We come from all over the world and we have different experiences and different journeys, and even our sacred promises are very, very different. But we've come together in synchronicity to collaborate on creating something beautiful together. And I just think it's so special. It really is.
Yeah, I remember you helping us to lead the writing sessions, and how healing it was. There were times when we had 1 hour, but we didn't want to leave the room because the energy was vibrating and we could feel it even through the screen. And that's the beauty of women. When women come together, we have the power to create magic because we have love that goes beyond this screen that we see.
Yes, yes. And women holding space for each other and being present for each other and showing up for each other, being vulnerable for each other and giving each other permission to speak their truth and follow their heart. It's truly beautiful.
Without judging.
Yes. And I cannot wait for women around the world to be part of this collective sisterhood that we've created by reading this book and being, going along these journeys with these women in their chapters. It's so special.
Oh, it's beautiful. Thank you so much, Peace. We really appreciate you for giving us the platform.
Oh, thank you for leading this project, Tererai. It's so special. Now, how about we bring our authors back? It'd be lovely to see you all again.
Hello, beloved authors. I hope I managed to interview everybody.
Yes, it was wonderful hearing from each of you. Thank you so much for being here with us today and for sharing your message and for sharing your wisdom in your chapter as well. It's such an incredible book. Thank you also to you, Tererai, for hosting our panel today and for being our guiding light as we have created this book together and shared each of our chapters. And thank you to everybody who is watching.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tererai. Thank you, Peace.
Thank you, Peace. Thank you,
Good night
Tererai.
to those who are about to go to bed, and good morning to those who are in Australia. And
it's amazing, isn't it? We've made this time zone work. I would like to urge everybody watching to order a copy of Sacred Promise for yourself and for a friend. And please know that the royalties from the sale of this book go on to supporting girls' education through the Tererai Trent International Foundation. This year we have a campaign to send 22 students to university, and this book will help to make that a reality. That's 22 people whose lives will be changed forever through the writing of this book. It's quite incredible. So thank you all again. We will finish now, but it has been so wonderful being a part of this journey with all of you. And we are so excited to bring Sacred Promise into the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.